Yo, what's up, man?
Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
This ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. With the 450
Yo, yo, yo. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to First Cut Live. We are breaking down one battle after another. This is our spoiler discussion. This movie has taken the film world by storm, and we are here to break down all the nitty details inside this movie. I'm Andres. This is RB3. RB3. I'm excited to talk about this one because obviously, as I said before, it's been taking up all the discourse inside film Twitter, inside the film industry in general. I'm excited to get your thoughts. First thing we always do. Your first watch, how did you feel about one battle after another?
Well, you can actually watch my first reaction on YouTube. Me and my boy Dylan Huang had just got out of seeing it the first time in IMAX at City Walk, best IMAX in the world. So you can actually see my reaction. It's pretty raw there. I actually want to get your reaction. And just for one, how many times have you seen it so far?
Just once.
Just once? Okay. All right, cool. I've seen it twice. I've been dreaming about seeing it a third and fourth time.
Yeah.
But what was your reaction coming out of it?
Yeah, man, I really dug it. Obviously, I think a lot of the issue for me is just it's so much hype that it's just a lot to take in, to digest. Hearing things like, I'm on film Twitter, bro. Hearing things like masterpiece, hearing things like film of the decade, film of forever. It's like, all right, we got to chill a little bit with that. But I still really, really dug it, man. And I like a lot as far as what it says and what it communicates as far as everything, man. I mean, obviously the political aspect of it is up at the forefront, but it's mainly the father-daughter dynamic that really sells the movie, which kind of drives the film forward. So I dug it, man. I really dug it.
Yeah, no, I dug it too. And as you saw, if people were watching at home, by the way, thanks for everybody who's watching. I know Cade was in the chat. We have 7 viewers or 3 concurrents. So, hey, hit that like button if you're watching, if you're catching afterwards. This is a little bit of a later stream than we normally do. So, shout out to everybody watching. Now, yeah, this is a movie that I've been thinking about heavy. This is actually, I've said it multiple times, this is my most anticipated movie of the year. How blessed am I as a film goer to have not one, but 2 of my top 3 favorite filmmakers put out movies this year. Was when we're talking about Spike Lee and Paul Thomas Anderson. I would also put Spielberg up there in my top 3 as well. So I'm just spoiled, you know what I'm saying? And I walking into one battle after another, of course the hype, like you said, was crazy. Masterpiece, greatest of the decade, all those kind of things. I tried to put all that aside, be objective, and just see it as a movie when I first walked in. And as a movie, it's almost a perfect film. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty much from an editing standpoint, a cinematography standpoint, characterization standpoint, pretty much everything in there is right on the money. And especially in a year where we had, frankly, movies, political satire that I just flat out thought was atrocious, like Eddington, you know what I'm saying? I think this one offered a politically satirical take while also attacking power, while also dismantling what is the reality right now versus something like Eddington, which is, looking back at the pandemic and in a very snarky right-wing way. This movie, is very much at least ingratiating itself with leftist ideology. Now, there are some people on the left who love this movie. There are some people on the left who vehemently disown this movie. And I've been watching all the reactions, getting all the takes. It's not just people on the left, too. Frankly, it's Black people who have been a little bit more divided on this film as well. And then in my initial reaction, that was the thing I said, too. I was like, as a movie, it's perfect. As a movie, I love it. As a Black person, I got to sit with it a little bit to really think on how it's making me feel, how the representation is making me feel. But after thinking on it, after seeing it again, and after really reliving it, I have a deep appreciation for what this movie is trying to do and trying to say overall. So, that's where I stand.
Yeah, I think that's it right there, man. I think the more you let the movie sink in with you, like the more time you spend like thinking about it, the more you appreciate it. And I think that's how I felt as well. Where my first watch, I was like, yo, that was dope. That was good. And then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, damn, that was really good. That was like low-key epic. in a lot of moments. In the themes it communicates in very overt ways, in very subtle ways, and in very plain ways. All that kind of stuff is just layered so well inside the movie. The way PTA writes that, as far as thematically, the way it starts off like punch in the face, like right up in an immigration center, and that's what we're taking down. So right up the top, the political aspect of it is up the forefront. And then second act, it gets into the community aspect of that city, Backton Cross, and the Latino community, which is obviously something I'm going to talk about. And then third act is all about father-daughter chase, where Leo is trying to rescue his daughter, and the daughter is trying to deal with all this stuff hitting her in the face in a very sudden and powerful way. So it's really, really well done and well crafted as far as a film standpoint goes. I agree with you on that. I think this might be one of PTA's best. I still got to let a second watch hit me before I decide, but right away, man, let's get into it. I know you got notes. I got a couple notes. I probably don't have as much as you do. But right at the top, I wanted to start with the cast because I feel like this is what people are talking about probably the most, is Chase Infinity, Teyana Taylor, Leo, Benicio, Sean Penn. How'd you feel about performances in this cast and what the characters delivered, and what the actors gave to the characters?
Yeah, I mean, I thought all the performances are great. I mean, this is a performance powerhouse. If you watch PTA movies, that's what he's known for, creating big ensembles and giving everybody a space to shine. Especially newcomers like Chase Infinity was just magnetic. Teyana Taylor was so good. She was too good. I think what a lot of people's criticism of this movie really comes down to, well, I'll talk about a lot of criticisms that I've observed about this movie. Partially, you can see in the title, is the fact that we gained such a strong attachment to Teyana Taylor's character in the first opening act that and by the way, we're getting into spoilers, y'all. Andres already started breaking it down, but we're getting into it, once we start learning some of the truths behind Teyana Taylor's character, Perfidia
Beverly Hills.
Perfidia Beverly Hills, it paints her as a morally gray kind of character. But she's so good that you almost are still rooting for her even to the very, very end of the movie when, it's complicated. It's morally complicated. But she's great. Of course, Leo's great. Sean Penn is great. Sean Penn's a nasty man. And that's the one thing that's like also kind of hold me back from love, going super, super over the top of love for this. Because if you know Sean Penn and what he's been accused of in the past, Sean Penn's been accused of some bad stuff. And of course, he's done a lot of big charitable things and things for climate change and all these things to, that are positive, but we got to keep it real too about the negative. So, he's a fellow and he's having a lot of fun in this movie. He's having too much fun in this movie, I almost feel like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's some good stuff. Everybody's great.
Yeah, I want to get to the Sean Penn aspect of it all because there is already a discourse on, like you said, leftist Twitter, leftist talk, leftist film Twitter, when it comes to the balance of having a film that feels like it's incorporating this stuff and feels true to it and feels like it's doing it in a positive way, but also having actors like Sean Penn, portray that. And obviously some Leo DiCaprio as well, because Leo's also not necessarily the most clean guy. He's right now currently investing in Israeli real estate, I believe. And it's something that a lot of people are really calling out because it's probably the most disgusting time to do that. So it's hard to really kind of balance that and take that away from it. But right away, you talked about Teyana Taylor. This is the biggest character that's getting the most discourse. I'm on film TikTok and I'm seeing, I want to see, and I wanted to tweet this out too. I want to see black women's reaction to Teyana Taylor, and they're talking, man. So tell me what you feel about this character and what it communicates as far as the balance of having PTA write this character, Teyana Taylor portray it, and what it really communicates as far as black representation and black women.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's indeed. I mean, that's partially why. And it's funny when you had texted that you wanted to do a review for this. No joke, bro. That's why I have all these notes. Like, I literally had an hour-long solo live stream, just playing solo, and like I was literally going to go through like all the black like reactions that I could find, right? Because there's so many and there's a wide spectrum. And yeah, I mean, you know, just to, you know, for one guy that we both love, FD Signifier, he thought this movie was gross. He said it was the ick. He admitted that it's a great film, but his whole point is that, you know, which a lot of people's point is that they feel like this movie is hypersexualizing and exploiting the black women, you know, in this cast. Same thing with a friend of mine's, a personal friend of mine who's in the journalism space, Zon Demore. She wrote a very good review of the film. Again, praising the film itself, but speaking to how the message of who loves black women, you know, in public versus in private, what's a fetish versus what's, you know, like actual love and affection. You know, a popular YouTuber and online critic, video essayist as well, Obi Brooks, also known as Black Girl Watching, on her Substack, the title of her Substack is literally One Fetish After Another, PTA Exploits Black Women and Averts Revolution. So it's like, you know, there's some people who just think that it's, you know, like it's really not, it's not hidden. And I think that is where I was kind of landing on when I first saw the movie too. But to me, I started thinking about it, and, you know, there are a lot of sisters in this movie, and 90% of them are pretty well represented, I would say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Chase Infinity is pretty much the co-star next to Leonardo DiCaprio for the second and third acts of the film. She's great. She's not like super overly exploited. At least I don't think, you know, she really doesn't show any kind of sexualization. Same thing with Regina Hall. Same thing with the nuns, the black sister nuns that we end up meeting down the line. So same thing with some of the other members. Now, I think what some, you know, you look at the first act of the movie and you get characters named like Jungle Pussy, and like they're making jokes about that, and Perfidia, Beverly Hills. It's, you know, things that are very like over the top and kind of over fantasized, whatever. But think about it in the context of the movie, that's on purpose. Like, those are distracting names on purpose to coat themselves from the revolution. So I'm saying that to say, like, you know, there are a lot of black women in this movie. I don't think they're all being exploited. I don't think anybody's being exploited, actually. I think that I pretty much drill it down to really just Teyana Taylor's character, Perfidia, just really being the most flawed kind of character that you can imagine, right? And it's tough that she is a black woman, but I don't think her flaws are because she's a black woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, her flaws is that she doesn't care about having a kid. She's reckless. You know, she kind of is more into this stuff for like the violent tendencies, like the guns and the shooting. And even, you know, she's somebody who kind of stabs the revolution in the back by kind of, you know, for one, snitching, for two, shooting that black security guard during the bank robbery, for three, sleeping with or even seducing Sean Penn's character to begin with. Now that was a manipulation tactic to get herself free down the line, but you know, it still was kind of dirty. But when you look at all the black women in this film, she's the only one who's like not the most clear-cut, morally good person. She's the most morally complicated. So that's what I think makes the movie a little bit harder for some black people and some black women to, you know, or black men too. A lot of black brothers who I've seen and seen discourse of who also feel the same way. But I just think it, you know, you look at the film and you see it's Paul Thomas Anderson, a white man, writing and directing it, Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's all through the lens of Leonardo DiCaprio. So also kind of adds that extra bit of detachment for black folks as well. But at the same time, it is not the entirety of the movie that all black women in it or all black people in it are exploited or done dirty. In fact, it's really just one black character that's like that. And there's one, you know, this the Howard guy who also sells out the revolution too, but he's a white guy, and they had threatened his sister, and they literally put a bag over his head and snatched him out of his house. So I can't really blame him that much for snitching, you know what I'm saying? And he's also a white man. And I think that's also commentary on like how much do white people really care about the revolution. So there's levels to it, there's deepness to it. I'm talking too much, you know, but that's where I think, you know, the black discourse kind of has been on.
Yeah, it's the complexity of it all, right? She's a complex character. She's not a straightforward character. But there's also a bit of, like you said, fetishizing. There's a bit of like exploitation to her character. And then the feeling that a lot of Black audiences are getting as far as knowing that PTA wrote this character, that makes it even more like eyebrow raising, and like you start to question it, because you start to say, wait a minute, like if a Black person wrote this, then maybe you can kind of see the morally gray aspects and be like, all right, it's a complex character. But it's the fact that it's PTA, it makes you kind of question it. But at the same time, I'm with you, man. I've been trying to listen to more Black reactions to it as well. I'm just searching on YouTube, so I'm trying to find it. But some channel called Rap Latte, and they talked about it and they really liked it. And they had a Black panelist, Black women panelist on it. And then homegirl Frankie, I see her on TikTok all the time, and she just kind of comes up on my feed. She's a Black woman as well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She loved it.
Yeah, I was actually, yes. In fact, I was actually going to play a clip of her, just a quick clip of what she had to say too. Yeah, hold up. One second.
I believe that Perfidia Beverly Hills is one of the most well-written Black women characters in cinema history. Unfortunately, the raw depictions of her shortcomings, paired with the fact that she is a Black woman in touch with her sexuality, leading a cause, makes that statement a hot take. But please let me cook. When a woman haunts the narrative of the story, she is, in the eyes of the people remembering her, perfect. You've heard the tropes. Lines like, she was so free, fearless, yada, yada, yada. The ghosts, especially in regards to important causes, are always some variation of the manic pixie dream girl. The girl that's different, who subverts societal norms and challenges the protagonist to see the world in a different light. But the reality of the manic pixie dream girl is no one knows her. We only see her through the eyes of the people who commodify her. She has no thoughts or motivations outside of moving the story forward. You'll never see her mask slip. And if she does have flaws, it will be revealed later in the story after she's long gone as a twist to challenge the protagonist. All of the marketing that we saw in this film suggests that Perfidia would fit into these tropes. A mother and a revolutionary who...
Okay, yeah, so sorry, the TikTok goes on for another 3 minutes. Yes, that's literally what Frankie. By the way, Frankie's awesome. She did the Q&A for the comic shop premiere. So I met her there. Dope. So yeah, she's really cool.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that's also, yes, she was one who felt that way. One of the biggest Black women advocates you can find on the internet, Dr. Umar, surprisingly gave a glowing review to One Battle After Another. Even you would think, gosh dang, it's a movie about so much interracial stuff, and then how can he like a film like this? But it speaks, he said it's a must watch for revolutionaries and bunny hoppers alike. So it's really something that is really, like, you can look at it both ways. I think it just takes a bit of open-mindedness going into it. And, being down to, yeah. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you're talking about Frankie and stuff.
No. I'm bringing up these points so you can cook, man, for sure. Because I feel like this is the point, right? We're getting that kind of Black representation, and we have to talk about it. And I feel like it is that complexity to it. But at the same time, there's always an argument for, first of all, I want to say what, I don't know who this guy on TikTok said, but I saw TikTok last night and he said it best. Whatever Black women want to feel about this movie, they're right. Facts. That's my opinion. I can only say what I think the movie's trying to say, which is that fetishization is supposed to be evil. It's from a guy who's literally a piece of shit. And he's a bad dude, and that's the villain of the movie. So it's not necessarily a good thing. And also that extortion that he gives to Perfidia is supposed to be demeaning. We see the whole scene, the whole sex scene, and it's depicted in a very like celebratory way towards her being powerful and Sean Penn being submissive. But at the same time, after that scene, we see her walk away very sad and very depressed because she was low-key like sexually assaulted, because that's extortion, because he extorted her. He said, you have to do this, otherwise your revolutionaries will be eliminated or taken apart. And then obviously she undercuts that by betraying them, which was obviously something I was watching it and I was like, what are you doing? You can't just like be a traitor. But at the same time, it adds to that grayness to her character and that complexity. But at the same time, I can also say that at the end of the movie ends with her letter. Yeah. And that being an inspiration for Chase Infinity's character, Willa's character. So at the same time, there is like a balance to Teyana Taylor's performance and Teyana Taylor's representation and what she means for the movie in general. So again, the complexity of it all.
Yeah, and I think that's what's beautiful. Like the characters in the movie never villainize her for her choices, besides the nuns. But like, she is still a hero and still an inspiration for more of what she's done than more, what she's remembered at. And it's the same thing, it happens a lot with revolutionaries or with, big figures in political movements, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we all know MLK was getting down with the white girls, you know what I'm saying? All them motels, the FBI got all those files and they let them out. But it's just how it goes. I know, of course, some people were upset that this came out, or not that this came out. It's not the movie's fault, but the same weekend this came out, Assad Shakur had passed away.
Assad Shakur, yeah.
Shakur, yeah. Tupac's godmother. And very prominent, very, very prominent Black Panther and revolutionary in her own right. So some people was really drawing her image up there on screen with Teyana Taylor's character. And maybe that kind of cognitive dissonance is kind of also led people to try to aspire real things or not real things or making it too close to reality than it actually is. And I think with PTA, I personally think with PTA, he wasn't writing Perfidia as some complex revolutionary. He was just writing her as a woman who just didn't want to have a family. I mean, you don't know how many women in this world right now are like not feeling that kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying? Not wanting to have kids. Like there's a lot of women who don't want to have kids. Anyway, long story short too. Also, Paul Thomas Anderson has been married to Rashida Jones. I don't know if they've been married, but him and Rashida Jones have been, not Rashida Jones, I'm sorry. Maya Rudolph.
Isn't it Maya Rudolph?
Yeah, Maya Rudolph, sorry. They look the same, light skin gang. It's Maya Rudolph and Paul Thomas Anderson being together for a long time. So, I felt like Paul Thomas Anderson was writing it in a loving, kind of endearing kind of representation of the people that he loves in his life from a white man's perspective. And that's always what I kind of got a caveat with this movie. It is definitely from a white guy, for white guys, but it's for everybody, honestly. It's for everybody. But it's mostly for white guys. I mean, Leo is the stoner, Big Lebowski kind of trash character that
stereotypical white guy.
Yeah, exactly. Fake woke. But I love it though. I think it's such a funny characterization. But yeah.
I think to me, I think Teyana brings a lot to it though, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. If the performance was kind of subpar, or if it felt kind of forced, but it felt so natural and real, and the fact that she gave so much rawness to her character, it feels like a real character. I think that's one thing about the movie, that it feels over the top in a lot of ways, and it is over the top, but at the same time there is we're living in an over the top world, bro. This is an over the top reality. So at the same time, it feels real. It's like, yeah, I know Jungle Pussy, bro. Like, hell yeah, I know. That's someone you feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it feels real.
Yeah.
So at the same time, you have Regina Hall's character too, who does play a much more subtle, quiet, strong Black woman as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 100% what it is. And of course, like, they marketed Regina Hall heavy, and she wasn't in the movie as much as I would have liked her to be. They marketed Teyana Taylor heavy. She's only in like the first act, appearance-wise. Her presence is felt throughout the entire film, but appearance-wise, she's only in the first act. So, and shout out to Warner Brothers. I do think the trailers were good at hiding what the plot is. So the marketing has been pretty good. They, in the last minute, like in the last 2 weeks, they made a heavy Black pivot where they Like literally every single promo I saw was like Chase Infinity, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, like every single one. So I feel like that's kind of also what kind of set the tone for like, oh shoot, this is like their movie, like, and in reality, it's a lot more Leo in it than you would expect. But it was, they're all great. The great Wood Harris from The Wire, from Creed, also part of the Fringe 75. The whole Fringe 75 group. I'm Harrell. Again, if you've seen Licorice Pizza, she returns as part of the Fringe 75 group.
Alana, isn't it Alana?
Alana, again, bad with names, y'all. Bad with names. I mean, the whole cast in the Fringe 75 was amazing. I think that whole opening sequence when they're just, I forgot, was it like a detention center or that they were just freeing everybody and going the explosions. It's one of the most thrilling action scenes I think I've seen in a minute,
Yeah, I think, let's talk about it, man, because I think this is what's also at the forefront is like I said before, the political aspect of this film. As a leftist, as someone who's on Left Talk, which is insane. I don't know if you've ever been on Left Talk, but man, this shit's crazy.
Brad Talk, they like to say. Brad Talk.
Yeah, or BreadTube is the YouTube version. Yeah. But Left Talk is even crazier because it is so split and because there's so much infighting, which I think is still funny. This movie felt like there's times where some people said it trivializes it. Like I think you were mentioning some people who were talking about that, who might feel like it trivializes it. But I kind of feel like the more the movie goes on, the more you realize, especially when it's put up against the villains of the movie, which are the United States and the military and the Christmas adventurers, who we'll talk about in a little bit. That dichotomy, that contrast, when you see like Sean Penn is the villain of the movie, but he's literally being hunted down by his own gang and his own community with this Christmas adventurers. And in the reality, Leo doesn't do much, and it's this community of all Latinos who like uplift him and help him and really bring him forward to where he needs to be. And obviously the French 75 connection as well, his comrades when it comes to Regina Hall and the nuns as well. So I feel like it's a good representation of leftist ideology and community building and the idea that fighting for your community and being the one to step up no matter what and having people's backs. Like the fact that Benicio el Toro, who's probably my favorite character in the movie, Sensei Sergio, is helping Leo in the way, bro, he holds him down. Like he holds him down. And for me, it's like, if you see Leo throughout the movie, he is kind of dismissive of everyone in that community. And I don't think he ever really connects with anyone except maybe Sensei. And yet he still holds him down. And yet he still fights for him. And the fact that that's what I see from a lot of Latinos in the real world and the Latino community in general, that's what we're known for. Doesn't matter if he's a white dude. Like we will go to great lengths to help a homie out. And I think that's really well represented in the movie. And the vision behind the French 75, everything they do in the movie, I'm like, that's valid. It's hella valid. The immigration center, the bank, blowing up buildings. The only thing maybe, like you said, is the Teyana Taylor shooting the bank guard. I was like, all right, even but they seemed like they were freaked out by that. So it felt very good, like a good representation of what we should be striving for, building community and building more revolutionary aspects to our lives.
Yeah, no, it was dope. It was dope seeing how widespread the revolution was, not just from the French 75 side, but like you said, from Benicio del Toro's whole, they say it was like a Latino Harriet Tubman situation we got going on.
Yeah.
That was dope seeing that whole, and then, PTA so good with the long takes, like seeing them walk through the hall, through up and down the stairway and through the hallway and just seeing all those people and all those families and everybody just lined up and everything like that. That was great. And then of course, like going back a little bit when the French 75, do their whole freedom thing. And then we meet, Teyana Taylor's character and then they have the baby and everything like that. The scene when they have to go on the run and we get introduced to this like little little tone walkie-talkie situation. And for one, that music is just trippy and dope and amazing. And then we meet Howard, right? And then Howard is that guy who hooks him up with the technology. He's also having the radio show later when he gets snatched up. Even in that scene, he's very much like, yo, look, I'm only here for the technology part of it. Like, I'm only here to help you guys out, like, on this level. Like, you're on your own. Remember this information, burn it, don't mention my name again. So that's the type of time that, like, when stuff starts flying, it has to fly. But yeah, when they're driving in the car, baby's in the backseat, that was heartbreaking. Intercutting with Perfidia, escaping, and Sean Penn knocking down her door in the witness protection house, and then reading the note, this pussy don't pop for you or whatever. And then she's walking across the Mexico border. The whole first act was like, I couldn't ask for a better first act. Like, that was a crazy, really well done first act.
Yeah, I think it works really well. And I think whether it's the French 75 or the Backton Cross community, we see how community is really going to be the savior, even when it comes to, and we can just get to her right now because she's kind of the star of the movie besides Leo, Chase Infinity's character.
Yeah.
The fact that it's her own like upbringing that kind of helps her in the end, right? The fact that she did remember those words when Regina Hall came to the bathroom, which is a really pivotal scene.
Yeah.
And the fact that she did learn a tiny bit, and that tiny bit was enough to get her by, and to save her life, essentially. And her, by her own determination, saving her life. And the fact that Leo was determined to save her, but he wasn't able to, and she was able to save herself. So what do you think about Chase Infinity? I saw her in Presumed Innocent. It's like an Apple TV show, literally like a couple weeks ago. So I kind of knew her from that. But what you feel about her debut performance inside a movie?
She was phenomenal
too.
Sorry, what you said that?
And her character as well.
Oh yeah.
Willa.
Willa. I mean, Willa's great. I mean, her character. To be honest, her character is a little bit more of a blank slate. Like, she like character wise, she's just like a 16-year-old girl. And she, of course, annoyed by her dad. But that was funny. When she is about to go with her friends or whatever, and
to the dance.
Yeah. And they're doing, of course, like that whole eye roll and like they them thing. Okay, whatever. But it is like Leo did have some funny moments when he's like dragging the kid, like, I'm gonna murder you if you know that. Like, it's just, that whole sequence is funny. And yeah, she, when she knew more than Leo did. Like, like Leo barely remembered any passwords, anything. Like, at least she kind of knew like the first, like that whole little intro thing, which is an actual quote. Gosh, I forgot who that quote was from. I think it was, again, another revolutionary. I think it was from Eldridge Cleaver or something like that. Anyway, that was a real, that bathroom scene was really crazy. For one, of course, the meme that's been going around at the prom, they're playing that Shaq West.
Yeah, Mo Bamba.
Yeah, Mo Bamba.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, Mo Bamba.
Right. No, I was like, in a PTA movie, I never would have thought. Never. And I just love all the TikToks of people just like, oh, shoot. Because that was literally me when I saw it. But yeah, that was a crazy. And then the best sequence of the movie with the best music, honestly, I'm gonna play a little bit of it here. Hopefully we don't get too copyrighted. But when Leo is just sitting in the house by himself and he's getting the phone call and it's like, yo, we just need that greeting code. He's like, I can't remember it. And he's just high out of his mind and he has no idea what to do. And he's low-key sitting there wasting so much time, but the build-up paranoia kind of made it that much funnier, So, but yeah, this music. By the way, the score from Johnny Greenwood.
Yeah.
Honestly, my second favorite score of the year. Straight up. Sinners is always gonna be my number one, of course. Ludwig Göransson's the GOAT. But this Johnny Greenwood score, he was cooking with this one for sure.
And the thing about Johnny Greenwood, and I'm glad people are talking about him more, because he made my favorite score of that other PTA movie that I love.
Phantom
Phantom Thread. That's my favorite score of that year. And I think we talked about it on the podcast when we were doing like Oscar picks. That's my favorite score. And I remember him obviously mainly from that. He's done some other stuff that's also amazing, but he always cooks. He always cooks. He really does. So he's someone that's been kind of forgotten because he doesn't make as much scores as probably Ludwig does. But he's a beast when it comes to making scores, man, an absolute beast. So shout out to him. I want to talk about that because that's like a good, I don't know how long the phone call stuff goes on for, man. But Leo and the phone call stuff, let's talk about that, the comedy of it all, because Leo is kind of like a fish out of water, even though he's supposed to be the GOAT, the legend Rocket Man, I think is what they call him, Ghetto Pat Rocket Man. But the fact that he can't remember the password, and I was like, all right, what are you trying to say right here? Is I've seen two versions of it. I've seen Leo's an idiot and he should have remembered the password. And this is like a commentary on you should like know actual leftist ideology, or the other side as far as like people who are always like, yo, you got to read theory, man. If you don't read theory, you're not a leftist. And if you don't read this author and this author, you're not a leftist. And it's like that aspect of it all where the comrade Josh is like tripping because he should just let Leo try to save his daughter and not play games. I don't know what side you're on, man, but I was like, all right, what is PTA trying to say here? This is leftist infighting where it's like, I'm funny. The real one. I do this. And he's like, well, I read theory and I know this. And it's like, all right, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I did take it a little bit as I took it as more as like Leo was just completely stupid. Like,
yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah, I think most people would have gotten it. I do think the infighting is funny because the dude on the other line was such a
comrade
baby.
Josh.
Yeah, comrade Josh, and he's like, "Oh, you're really invading my safe space." Like I thought that was like, okay,
that's what I was saying. Yeah,
like that's definitely some like I don't even say
like modern leftist versus like old school, like Black Panther. Like I'm on the ground and stuff, and I'm actually doing stuff. Yeah,
no, I thought that was a commentary on that, and just on the fact of like, again, when these white boys get put on the line for this revolution, they're not there with it. You know what I'm saying? But that was actually probably the funniest through line because he's talking to him like he's a frustrated customer service. Because we all get frustrated talking to them customer service people, but it was like Leo, like, dang man, this is like life or death. But yeah, no, that was funny, and I also took from that like, I'm gonna come back to that. But also to pay off to that joke, being the dude, the one brother who got away from the French 75 earlier, we see him walk away from the arrest. And then he comes back and is like, yo, what's my favorite kind of pussy? And then he's like, yo, it's like fat Latina. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, it's just like, but it's just, again, just pure comedy.
Yeah, and the fact that he kind of vouched for him too. He's like, apologize to him. That's like a legend right there. And I was like, all right, this is telling you like the difference between like the homies who make videos and stuff versus the guys who are like on the ground and stuff. And I don't know. That's what I took away from it.
I didn't even take that, but that's a good way to look. It's also funny too because never mind. Let's move on. Never mind.
Yeah, I want to talk about Sensei. Because Sensei to me is the biggest presence in the movie, or one of the biggest presence in the movie. The fact that he really is like the most like Sensei of it all. Like he's the most Master Jedi kind of aspect to the film, where when Leo goes to his dojo and he's freaking out, as soon as he was like deadpan calm and the cops cars are going by, and I was like, bro, you're in trouble too. Why aren't you freaking out? And he kept being so calm. I was like, this is dope. Because it's two things. Obviously, the fact that he's used to this, he's built for this. He knows that, this is what discrimination looks like inside the United States in this current time. But at the same time, he's also a sensei. It's the martial arts training in him. That's what I also took from it, where he's literally like, the martial arts training teaches you to breathe and to be calm. And to make sure that you're ready for anything, right? That's the whole point of karate, which I think is what he's teaching Willa. So that aspect, the Latino community, the way they all rally together in the streets, protesting in the streets, fighting back against the cops, the skater homies who are still Mexican, which I thought was funny. Jumping off buildings and looking like Spider-Man, which is why I wore the shirt. I was cracking up at that scene, bro. I was cracking up at that scene, and I think I was the only one laughing because they kept doing like crazy jumps and stuff. And Leo was like climbing ladders, and he was like barely making it, and he was struggling. He was like, and these skater guys were like flipping around, and I was like, all right, this is hysterical. And then it ends with him falling off the building, which I thought was pretty funny too, and the fact that he called, he's like, yeah, man, homie just fell off the building, bro. Yeah, I thought this was too much, man. But the fact that we get that one scene, because the whole scene, I would say Sensei is a little bit of a comedic character, a deadpan comedic character. But that one scene where he's like a real one is where he speaks in Spanish and he calms the families down. And I like that there was no subtitles. I don't think there was, at least in my theater, there wasn't. And he just says the most real shit. He's like, I'm with you. We're here. We're built for this. Do not be scared. Do not be afraid. Stay calm. This is what we're used to. Take your stuff, take your family, take your kids, and calm down. It's going to be okay. And the fact that he said that in Spanish, and obviously he's playing a Mexican dude, even though Benicio is a Puerto Rican brother, it felt real. And obviously his cowboy boots, I was like, this dude's a Mexican. He's playing a Mexican. And it felt like this is dope representation of the Latino community. Everyone felt natural. Everyone felt real. You saw little homie with the Eddie Guerrero shirt, which I thought was hysterical. And then he says, Latino Heat, yo, Latino Heat, come here. And I was like, yo, as someone who grew up with Eddie and like loved him, because I lived in El Paso too, which is where Eddie's from. And I had some, my dad was working in Juarez, which is border town. It felt real. It felt like a real Latino community. And it felt like Sensei will always have your back no matter what. He even took DUI. He was like, I'll take it. I'm drinking and driving, bro. Yeah, so what? Like I'm doing it for the homie. So I love it. I love that character, and I love the Latino representation in the movie, to be honest.
Yeah, it was top tier representation. Again, it was like, I really do feel like, I think they filmed this movie in 2023 or like late 2023, early 2024. It feels like they could have filmed it yesterday, like straight up, like straight from the ICE, commentary that is happening in the beginning and to them invading the streets of an American city for no reason. And literally that's what they talk about in the Christmas Adventures Club. Like, yo, boy's wilding. Like, he raided a school, he raided the chicken factory. Like, and that was another good commentary on like how these executives, how these white people, they don't care about the actual issues. They only care about the monetary. Like, how is this going to look? How is this going to make our companies affect our bottom line? Things like that. So that was a good, that was tough too. But yeah, overall, perfect representation on that front. It really did feel like they could have filmed it yesterday, even down to them snatching up that boy Howard. That really felt like some Jimmy Kimmel stuff, like snatching him up, putting him in the car, driving him away in that fast car. And then, of course, it was the little Latino boys who was hanging outside of his place that sent out the message and sparked the ignite the spark. So really, really great stuff there.
Yeah, and I think that was actually supposed to be El Paso or Juarez. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it, but yeah, it really did feel real, and it felt like something that it felt real to the community, which I appreciate. And I appreciate Benicio del Toro doing that, because obviously he's in a lot of movies and he's a legend and all that. But this one felt like a character that he can hang his hat on, for me personally, because he usually does like goofy characters and stuff, which is cool, but it's not something that you grasp onto, in my opinion. So the fact that he was able to do that. But you mentioned the Christmas Adventures, bro. Let's get to that real quick. What'd you think about this, man? Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, all right, we're getting back to reality, bro, because this shit's real.
Yeah, no, it's funny. They play it up for jokes with the Christmas Adventurers Club, and they're playing Christmas music every time they walk in, and they're making all these sly little jokes. But some sinister stuff. I mean, they really do. I think that's real. I think there are real boardrooms that are like just 5 or 6 white guys controlling the entire country, and they're pulling the threads, and they just are deciding these things. I mean, I hate to call that actor Gavin Newsom, but he looks so much like Gavin Newsom. So when they got Gavin Newsom's looking behind in there, and he's like, yeah, we're looking for the purest race, da-da-da. It's like, dang, like, okay, so they're not even hiding it. At first I thought Christmas Adventurers Club, like some KKK or KAK or something like that. But no, it's really just a Christmas theme. But that's honestly what kind of makes it funny too,
Yeah, it felt like you said, it felt real because I was like,
Yeah.
I totally get this. It reminded me of Watchmen.
Yeah.
You remember Watchmen?
Yes.
That whole group. But it is like it's the modern day super rich version of the KKK, and the powerful one, right? The billionaires, the ones who control power, and the ones who are in politics as well. And the fact that they're behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, and the fact that I didn't get it at first because I didn't get who this guy was, but the fact that he turned out to be their assassin, like he's their top dog assassin,
Right.
And they play it up for laughs because he's wearing like a Lacoste shirt,
Yeah.
like a little like vest, like typical
Yeah.
like he's gonna go golfing white guy, and he pulls out a freaking double loaded shotgun like the
Yeah.
Terminator, and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But the fact that the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, they're so determined to take out Sean Penn
Yeah.
because he slept with a black girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. Even though this guy's given his life for white supremacy, it doesn't matter. And I was like, holy shit, that shit's real.
Right.
That shit's real, man. So yeah.
That's really, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but the far right, the extreme right, they hate JD Vance because he's married to Indian woman. And they actually love Gavin Newsom because they think Gavin Newsom's like this all white American family kind of situation. So yeah, it's real. I think this is like perfect satire. Again, comparing it to Eddington. Eddington had this like low hanging fruit. Let's make jokes about wokeness. Let's make jokes about, you know, all this stuff. This is actually making jokes about the powerful and the rich. And as much as I want to skip those scenes, they have some of my favorite lines in the entire movie. The old dude telling the assassin, like, make it clean. We can eat off the floor. Is that clean? You know what I'm saying? It's like sinister and cutting. But then, of course, like the one that literally almost made me cry was when he was like, sir, I've been reverse raped. She was a sperm thief. And dude was like, she's a semen demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the semen demon. So yeah, crazy stuff all around.
Yeah, they were wild, but they would definitely felt like something you could see in the real world and something that honestly that we're probably currently seeing. RB3, I'm gonna hit you up with any final thoughts that you have.
No final thoughts for me. I'm just gonna read the chat real quick. I know we gotta go. Kate Hughesby's been in the chat. Thank you so much, man. I know we peaked at like 15 people watching. Not a lot of chats though. What's going on, y'all? Get your thoughts in. Kate Hughesby said best movie of the year. Not the score giving me flashbacks. Alma Hale cracked me up. Benicio, the character was the best character hands down. Willa too. And OMG, the diabetes scene was amazing. The Adversary said, wonderful movie, just got back from my second viewing. Yes, indeed. It was a wonderful movie. You know, I know we got to go real quick. The whole pregnancy reveal or the whole DNA test reveal.
Yeah.
Really heart-wrenching scene. The score turned up to the max on that one. And just for a simple scene of just two characters just waiting for a DNA test, what a great way to build suspense. That was like really, really intoxicating. And then lastly, another one of my favorite scenes, of course, the hills up and down, amazing standout action scene. And the when Willa gets kidnapped and then the Native American homie drops her off. He sees that, oh shoot, they're gonna kill this underage girl. Let me go back in. He just turns into a boss and shoots that entire little militant group. I thought it was great. I love seeing every single person of color step up and help each other and support each other in one way or another in this movie, whether that's the Black nuns, whether that's the Latino community, you know, even the Latino community helping out Leo, you know, getting out of jail, you know, getting the diabetes test and then getting out of the hospital, all of that stuff, just brilliant. Love seeing that support, even with that little Asian girl who was the nurse. It's all people of color helping the rebellion, and it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, the indigenous bounty hunter as well. Obviously taking that L in the first half because he betrayed this French 75, or he like took the French 75 homie, but kind of redeeming himself at the end, right? That's the classic Star Wars trope as far as like a bad guy or on the bad side turning to the good side at the end and dying at the end, but he still went out like a boss, like you said. And also the racism that he experienced from them just firsthand. They kept saying like sly racist remarks to him for being native was also something that stood out to me because he felt like, all right, bro, Like there's evil and there's evil. These guys are evil. I gotta take them out. Because technically you can argue he's evil because he's like a bounty hunter who takes people out. But at the same time, he was like, hey man, this is too far. I don't do kids, is what he says, and then he saves Willa in that scene, and then her taking his car, the Dodge Charger, and then like doing the undercut cuff thing where you get under your legs and all that. You squeeze through and then driving the car away was dope. So, and the fact that that chase scene was really cool because you didn't know what's being communicated. There's like no dialogue for a good 5 minutes, right? So you see the Christmas assassin chasing Willa, and you see Willa trying to get away, and you see Leo trying to find Sean Penn's truck. So it definitely felt like a very dope scene. By the way, am I still good, man?
You look frozen. You look frozen at the moment. You're
right.
frozen now. There you go.
Last thing real quick, the scene where he goes up to the Latino guys, which I'm surprised he doesn't speak any Spanish, and all he says in Spanish is black car, bad guy, young girl, and the Latino guys are like, over there.
Right.
You said two things, bro. How'd they know?
Right.
But I just felt, I love that scene.
They did, yeah, he did say two things. They low-key pointed him in the wrong direction though. I was like, dang, bro. Like,
Oh, did they? They were just,
yeah.
I don't think take it in a bad way, but
Or no. I don't think it was a bad way. I think the joke was like his Spanish was so bad that like they pointed him that way, and then really like they drove that way. That's how I took that. But yeah, that hill sequence was great. They've built this special camera rig to make the camera go up and down on the hills, and really built that cinematic experience. Again, seeing it at AMC City Walk on that IMAX screen was literally revolutionary. I can't wait to see it again. I want to see it either in the big IMAX or in 40X just for that sequence.
40X would be crazy, bro.
Yeah,
40X would be crazy.
just for that, just for that end thing. I just want to see that. But yeah, I know we gotta go. So, if we wanted to wrap it, I love this film, and I think that I hope that people have an open mind to seeing it. Again, like Andres said, if you're a black woman and you don't like it, your opinion's 100% right. We're not arguing your opinion or arguing anybody's opinion. In fact, everybody who I mentioned, Zan Demore, Brooke Obi, aka Black Girl Watching, FD Signifier, of course, I'm big fans of all these people. And Zan's actually a good personal friend. But same thing with Frankie, same thing with Dr. Umar. Like, I like all these people generally. So it's like, I listen to all voices, and this is just my opinion, but I don't want that to represent anybody else's opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a couple other TikTokers, I wish I remember their names, who are also black women who liked it and who enjoyed it and who defended the aspect of it all, because there is a lot of grayness to it because of its PTA behind the camera, and we're used to that. So, but at the same time, for the budget, for the studio behind it, for the guy is saying what it's saying,